Hello and welcome to the Center for Spiritually Integrated Arts, a Centers for Spiritual Living teaching center. I am the founding minister and the spiritual director, Reverend Dr. Raymont Anderson. And I would like to invite you at this time to stay connected, follow, subscribe, connect on all of the various social media platforms. Now, if you are ready, today we are talking about the internal song. Now, if you remember last week, it was this infinite, this universal voice. Now it's the internal song, the internal dialogue, that repetitive stuff that marinates and ruminates within our minds and our consciousness. The internal dialogue of the ego can appear to drown out the internal universal song. It can appear to do so. Listen closely. Practice the art of listening closely in order to create new harmony and new energy and a new way of living your best life. See, this is exactly why I often say that the still small voice of God, it's neither still, meaning quiet, and it's not subdued. It's not small. The voice of God, the voice of spirit, the voice of the universe is loud and clear. But if the ego, if that ruminating thought form is the dominant, then yes, the voice of the sound of the energy of the divine may appear to be a whisper. But the moment we learn how to listen closely to that, tune in to that, then this is loud and clear, booming, in fact. People often talk about old tapes that run through their minds. Perhaps it's the voice of a parent, a teacher, a former minister, someone in our childhood, a friend, a neighbor, another family member. Doesn't matter who they are, but it's their voice, their mantra that is running through our minds. And this voice can come across as the sound of a beating drum that undermines our ability to live in a life affirming manner. It undermines our ability to choose effectively. It undermines our ability to grow into greater expansiveness of who and what we are in order to live a more fulfilling life. Now, within religious science and CSL, one great tool that helps to reverse and transform and transmute and dissolve that beating drum, that ruminating pattern, is spiritual mind treatment. We're going to talk more about that a little bit later. But if you're ready, let us breathe and let us go all in. We believe that the kingdom of heaven is within each of us and that we experience it to the degree that we become conscious of it. How conscious are you of heaven as a state of your consciousness, as an internal and all-ternal reality? Because we say we believe that heaven is within. Now, what is heaven? What does that mean? Normally, when we refer to it, it may come from the old Christian, our upbringing, our indoctrination of what heaven is or what hell is. And so we interpret heaven as this place in the clouds, streets of gold, angels, clouds. Is that what we are referring to? The kingdom of heaven is within each of us. But if heaven is a state of consciousness and heaven is this divine bliss, this understanding our wholeness, perfection, and completeness, then we understand heaven in a different context. And the more that we understand it, the more that we recognize it, and the more that we embody it, the more that we experience it. Speaking of which, so recently, Tracy, Rainica, and I went to New York for a quick day trip to see a Broadway show, A Strange Loop. Now, the funny thing is, this particular day, the show was altered because the person who you see here in the center in red, the character Usher, that's who that is, he was actually played by or done by the actual person who wrote Strange Loop in the first place, which we'll get to in a second. But I want you to take note that Usher is in the center, and then behind Usher, you see 6 different individuals. In the scope of the play, each of these individuals represented a thought. Thought number 1, thought number 2, and so on. And one of those thoughts was the thought of self-loathing, who would chime in periodically, at least once a day, to remind Usher how unworthy and disgusting of an individual he was. How many of us go throughout our lives with various thoughts on a strange loop within our consciousness? Now, why did Michael R. Jackson create a strange loop? I'm inviting you to go watch, any of his interviews where he talks about it, because it's an autobiographical adventure and journey into his mind. He is sharing, he is opening up. This is how we know that theater is church. Theater is a spiritual experience, because whether he intended it or not, this is a deeply metaphysical adventure, a deeply mystical exploration of our own beliefs, thought patterns, consciousness. Breathe. You may remember from last week, you met this guy last week, right? This idea of talking to oneself, self-talk. Well, we reference it, but do we really know what self-talk is? The manner in which you talk to yourself. It is your inner voice, your inner dialogue. You might not be aware that you're doing it, but trust you 100% are in some way, shape, or form having this inner something. This inner voice combines conscious and subconscious thoughts and ideas and beliefs, filtered all in, that then create this monologue within ourselves, this dialogue within ourselves that goes throughout our day, every day, and then creates the life that we live. How aware are you of your internal dialogue? It was recently shared in our Wednesday night discussion, Science of Mind and Spirit discussion group, that on average, we have approximately 8 billion thoughts a day, or 8 million thoughts a day, regardless. Billion, million, trillion, zillion, it's a bunch. And of those 8 million, billion, trillion, we're only conscious of about 2,000. That's a huge 2,000, 8 million. So we're invited to deepen our awareness, to increase the level of our, now we're not going to be fully conscious all the time, because that would mean we are solely focused all the time only on our thinking. So it's not normal or natural to be 100% all the time, every day, 24/7. But to increase from 2,000 to maybe 4 would be a huge evolutionary leap in how we talk to ourselves, because it affects how we show up in the world. Because of that 2,000, what if 1,000 are thoughts that are criticisms, judgments? Well, now if I'm aware, I can change. Well, 1,000 are this, and another 1,000 are that. Well, I can take this 1,000 and make them more this, or at least half of it. I'll take 500 and make it this. So that leaves me with only 500 that are now judgmental and criticism and etc. But I can't do that if I'm not aware of it. So we are invited to deepen our awareness of the words and the language and the communication that we do internally. From the Tao, we learn that whatever is contrary to the Tao soon ends. The one who injures others is sure to be injured by them in return. And what does this have to do with anything? Simply karma, cause and effect. What we sow, we reap. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that that person who we lied to is going to lie to us. Doesn't necessarily mean that. But what it does mean is in sowing seeds of lying, I've already lied to myself. It has already been returned unto me. So once again, we are invited to greater, deeper levels of awareness in what are we sowing? What are we planting? What are we creating? Because as within, so without. Whatever is contrary to the divine, whatever is contrary to the law, whatever is contrary to spirit can't continue because it's not real. So it can't continue. Even though we just desperately tried to continue and push forward this idea of separate races and separate genders and separatism and isolation, but there's only oneness and unity in the absolute. There is only oneness and unity. And the moment we understand this paradox of, then we stop pushing the narrative of that side of the train track's good, this side of the train track's bad, that ethnicity good, this ethnicity bad, that skin color good, this skin color bad, that shade good, this shade of skin color not good. The moment we understand at a deeper level this recognition of oneness and unity, then all of those otherisms begin to reduce. And then we are able to recognize and see there's me and there's you. And even in me and you, there's only God. So I'm able to function as me, talking to you, you talking to me, two separate beings, two individualized expressions of the one. If I do the work of understanding and recognizing that, if I do the work of managing, stewarding my ability to communicate. Because as we said last week, within communication, there's all of this. What language are we using? What is the meaning of the words? What are the words? What are the concepts that are being conveyed? How am I connecting to another through the words that I am using? What are the images that I use to communicate, to connect? If we're not aware of it, then we're simply talking. But isn't communication, we're simply communicating. Isn't communication to serve a purpose, to convey, to educate, to share, to inform, to glean, to gather, to learn? Well, in order to do that at the highest level possible, then I must be mindful of what it is that I am saying and what is being said to me. So when someone says heaven, is it being filtered through my understanding of what heaven is? Because what heaven means to me and what heaven means to them may not be the same thing. Simply saying the word, and I often reference this kind of idea using American Sign Language, the word MEAN, mean. Well, what does mean? Because I can say she is very mean. She is a mean person. When you say that, do you mean this? So that word, 4 letters, has multiple meanings. Run, 3 letters and multiple meanings. When I say no, spell it. Because it could be spelled 2 different ways. No, K-N-O-W, N-O. So it needs to be placed within a sentence in order for, do you know who's going? No, I don't. I know who said no. Do we speak with a level of stewardship that demonstrates we are masters of our words, master of our language, master of communication? Within the scope of New Thought, oftentimes we do these things called affirmations, but do we know what an affirmation actually is? Because according to the dictionary, an affirmation is the act of affirming. Now, I really don't like using the word that I'm defining as part of the definition. So we will say something affirmed. A positive assertion is an affirmation, a positive assertion. Well, what does that mean? It is a confident and forceful statement of fact or belief. I am whole, perfect, and complete. That's an affirmation. Do I state it with confidence as a forceful statement of fact or belief? Or are they simply words strung together? Now, part of the reason we're even talking about this, because in this scope of what does it mean to affirm, it means to validate something, to confirm something, to assert something as being valid, to show or express a strong belief or dedication in something. So when we do affirmations, what are we validating? What are we confirming? What are we asserting? What are we showing that we have strong belief and dedication in? What are we showing we are convicted to? More about that soon. Actually, no, because oftentimes we will use certain words to affirm things like, I am so clumsy. And we say it with such that it is believed by ourselves, believed by others. I never remember people's names. I am so bad balancing my checkbook. Those are affirmations. See, we refer to affirmations as, if we can go back for a second, affirmations, a positive assertion. A positive assertion, positive isn't always good. Right? I can be positive. I am absolutely positive that I am clumsy. Nothing you say would convince me otherwise. I am positive of it. So you can be positive of a negative. Is this like algebra where a negative times a negative is a I'm so confused right now. Oh, did you just affirm that? What are you affirming? Why are you affirming that? Why are you stating that thing with validity? Why are you confirming that as being the truth? Why are you asserting this thing that do you want it to be the truth? Do you want to be clumsy? Do you want to balance your checkbook poorly? Do you want to forget everyone's name when you meet them? Is that what you want? If it's not what you want, then why affirm it? Breathe. The power to live is within the self, implanted by the divine. Now, clarify. There isn't this thing and then that thing, and that thing does this to this thing. There is only the thing itself. So the power to live is within the self, implanted by the self, into the self, which is the divine. And ultimately, every person will realize their own inner kingdom, which is everything, which will then become to them as the tree of life, providing food and shelter, perfection and joy, love and equity and justice, not just for them, but for all, in a world that works for all. Are you nurturing this awareness? Are you plucking fruit from the tree of life? Do you feel food and shelter, perfection and joy in your life? Do you feel the sense of purpose and aliveness in your life? If not, then there is an invitation to shift something, evolve something. And if so, keep doing it and bring it to others who are not yet aware of this. Can't be a world that works for all if I'm well fed and you're hungry. I am well clothed and you're naked. This is why Jesus said, you know what? I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was naked and you didn't clothe me. I was injured and you didn't help me. And the disciples were like, whoa, Jesus, pump your brakes. When did we do that? And Jesus said, when you didn't feed them, you didn't clothe them, you didn't help them. You didn't do that for them, then it means you didn't do it for me. It's time for us to move from simply being me, 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 excuse me, me, to we. It's time for us to be a we people. We, all the way home. Like it's time for us to shift the consciousness, shift the paradigm. But we have to do the work within ourselves and on ourselves in order to do this. Are you doing the work? Back to this idea of affirmations. Once again, because I do not like using the word in the definition. So oftentimes you will hear me refer to things as being life affirming or non life affirming or life denying. But what am I referring to? Because when I say life affirming, most people refer to that as what's positive. When I say non life affirming, that's what most people refer to as negative. And if you haven't heard me reference this before, I do not use positive and negative as good and bad, because yin and yang, both of them are necessary for the creative process. So yin, the female, yin, the dark, yin, the intuitive, is not bad. The negative is not bad. The negative side of a battery is not bad. So I do not use those terms to refer to that. I refer to it, is it supporting life? Is it a demonstration of being aligned with life? Or it is a demonstration of denying life? That's the question. So let's ask, in the scope of what is life affirming, being in agreement with life, being in alignment with life, being in a state of contradicting life, in a state of being out of alignment or mal-aligned with life. But what does all that even mean? Well, when we talk about that which is life affirming, life agreement, life alignment, it is anything that says yes, deliberately and consciously, to the principle of life. In other words, God, spirit, source. Living in alignment with that which demonstrates a healthy, a supportive, a nurturing, authentic stewardship of life itself. Are you saying statements that are life affirming? Are you living in a manner that is life affirming or life contradicting, life malalignment? Anything that says no, consciously or subconsciously, to the principle of same thing. Anything that says no, living out of alignment or living malaligned with that which demonstrates. So if it's not demonstrating health and I'm out of alignment with health, then I'm demonstrating I'm in alignment with whatever this is, non-health. That's the difference between, so let's say something like exercise on a regular basis, some form of physical movement, healthy. Doing absolutely nothing while eating tons of junk food, not healthy. Eating good, nutritious foods, etc., smoking crack, smoking meth. That's out of alignment with health and well-being. Going to AA, staying an alcoholic who drinks on a regular and gets drunk daily. That's out of alignment, right? So how do we switch it? So anything that is not healthy, supportive, nurturing, anything that's out of alignment with that is that which we are referring to. So living in alignment with lack, living in alignment with scarcity, fear, worry, jealousy, resentment, holding grudges, apathy, any of that stuff is living in a contradictory, a mal-aligned state of awareness. We are using our language to affirm those very things. So once again, our invitation is to shift it, to do the work. Faith is a certain definite mental attitude. Faith is an affirmative way of using this law, a life affirming way of using this law, this energy and this force. You've heard me say, possibly, unless this is your first time, that we don't have faith, that faith is all that there is and faith has us. But is your mental attitude one that recognizes that? When you speak, do you speak from faith in love, faith in anger and animosity and othering, faith in unity, faith in separatism and isolation, us versus them? When you communicate, what is your faith in? What are you speaking about regarding? Because whether you recognize it or not, when you talk about going to the grocery store, It's a demonstration of faith. Do you have one particular grocery store that you go to when you have several options, but it's Food Lion, it's Giant Eagle, it's Kroger's, like whatever that, but there's one particular one, and you may go to another one if they don't have what you're looking for, but you frequent one. Why? It's a demonstration of your faith. Somehow, for some reason, you have faith in that store. You have faith that they will have in stock what you want. You have faith in the people that work there, that if you need something, that they will support and answer your questions. Otherwise, you wouldn't go there. Everything we do is a demonstration of our faith. Pause. So we're talking about this internal voice, and I want us to be mindful that all of us have some form of record. And it doesn't matter if you are a DJ that likes to, you like to mix it up. You're still using the same record, and the same record is using the same grooves, the same patterns. But if you do not like what you are playing, what you are hearing, then you must change the recording. You must change the record. And it doesn't matter if it's a record or back in the days of my youth, oh, how we loved the 8-track. And you may still have them. You may still have a collection of them. Doesn't matter if it's an 8-track or a cassette. Do you know how they work? They work based upon magnetism. What the magnet is attracting or repelling determines what is being recorded or erased. Well, wait a minute. Because God is all there is, then this must be a demonstration of a spiritual principle as well. So let us ask the question. Same thing with the record and the grooves. There must be frequency. Sound is frequency. Sound is vibration, air and vibrating waves, just like our brain has frequency, vibration. And these vibrations demonstrate a certain state of awareness, a certain state of being. When it's gamma, it's demonstrating intense concentration. When it's theta, it's dreaming, it's autopilot, it's when we are learning, etc. So wait a minute. Sound, frequency, words or language, sound, frequency, energy. So this too is a demonstration of, because whatever is the state of our mind, the state of our frequency, how we move through each of these channels of vibration and frequency demonstrates a certain level of how we are living our lives. Now, according to heart math science, the heart is a magnetic field of energy. And as they say, the heart's magnetic field, which is the strongest rhythmic field produced by the human body, not only envelops every cell of the body, but also extends out in all directions into the space around us, which you see in the images. The heart's magnetic field can be measured several feet away from the body by certain instruments. The HMI, Heart Math Institute, suggests that the heart's field is an important carrier of information. This magnetic field of energy carries information. The record, information. Language, information. Communication, information. Affirmations, information. Brainwaves, information. The heart field, information. All of this is energy of how God is communicating to itself, through itself, as itself, with itself, all the time. Hence, once again, why I say it is not a still, small voice. It is a loud and resounding voice of the divine, always communicating to itself. Are you listening? War will cease, not when God decides this for us, because there is no anthropomorphic God deciding. But when enough people know that it is no longer desirable and steadfastly, in a convicted manner, maintain their position of peace. From communion with Spirit, we will come to perceive the deeper reality, the broader sharing in and of the human experience. We will understand our oneness, and war will have no place in that. Separation will have no place in that. Bullying will have no place in that. Are we doing this work? Are you communing with spirit? Are you perceiving the deeper realities? Are you engaging in the sharing of this human experience on whatever level you are able to do so? By recognizing that this thing we refer to as the internal song is always being sung. I love myself so much. Or are you singing, I hate myself so much? I love you so much. I hate them so much. You get to choose the song. And for as long as the song is, I hate them so much, your heart is vibrating at that frequency, the conductor of that song. Your brain waves are vibrating at that frequency. Your words, that frequency. And as that frequency goes out, remember what it said about the Tao, what you sow, you shall reap. Hate given out becomes hate coming back in. And even if it doesn't come from another person, it's within you already. Because the fact that you are saying this, the energy is here. The place this is originating is here. You are the broadcasting station of that. Hello and welcome to 101774, the radio station of hatred and animosity all day, every day. I'm your DJ. I hate you all. I'm the broadcasting station. I'm the DJ. I'm the one putting, now let's listen to this song by She Hates Everyone So Much. I'm the one selecting the music. I'm the one putting it on. I'm the one broadcasting it. So clearly it's affecting, what did it say about heart math? Every cell, every aspect, up to several feet away. Is that the energy that I desire to pump out into the world? God is all there is, which means it must be living this thing called life as you. From this, we clearly must also then agree that your thoughts are God's thoughts. Your words are God's words. Your feelings and your emotions are also those of the universe. And your actions and your behaviors are those of God as well. Are you ready to act like that is the truth of your being? Are you ready to increase the fluency of your God speak? Are you ready? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That Word must also be in you, moving through you, and that Word is you. How are you utilizing it? This week's practice, 1. And if you don't already do it, feel free to join in with Tracy on Thursday nights because they discuss these questions. Great opportunity to dive in and practice what we're talking about. Number 1, flex your creative muscles. If your life were a Broadway musical, what would be the theme of the show? And what would the theme song be? Somewhere my life does suck. Somewhere my life is yuck. And is that the theme song? Or is there something else? What is it? Number 2, is affirmative prayer currently a part of your daily practice, your daily way of life? If so, do you have a prayer partner? And if it's not a part of your daily practice, why not? And if it is, but you have no prayer partner, why not? What are some of the things that you pray about regularly? And what are some of the things that you could pray about, but you haven't as of yet? And then lastly, flex your vulnerability muscles. Have a conversation with 2 people about some of the non-life affirming thoughts, words, and behaviors you have engaged in recently, and what you can do and are committed to doing to transform, transmute, and transfer to a more life-affirming state of being. Breathe. This week's affirmation, our declaration that we are saying is valid, that we are asserting is the truth, that is deeply committed and anchored in our awareness. I'll say it first, and if you feel aligned with this, say it with me on the second go round. Today and every day, my life harmonizes with and as the one song. Together. Today and every day, my life harmonizes with and as the one song. Breathe. Breathe and let that sink in as we anchor into our closing prayer. Simply anchoring into this moment, allowing this breath to breathe itself, this divine and holy Ruach Elohim, the breath of God, the breath that is God, to breathe itself. Anchoring in, knowing that the word that is God is my word, that the word that is God is this physical body temple, that the word that is God, the thoughts, the words, the feelings, and the actions, that it's all God. That there is nothing that I could do, nothing that we could do that would separate us from that. So right here, I anchor deeply and profoundly in this awareness and affirm the truth with certainty that this power and this presence right here lives, moves, and has its beingness in, through, and as me. And what is true of, for, and about me is true of, for, and about everyone watching right now. There is only one power, and that is the divine. There is only one word, and that is the word of God, speaking eternally, infinitely, always creating. And that word is my word, your word, our word right now. And I declare and commit to using this word, this internal voice, this internal song, becoming my external voice, my external song, my external symphony of divine demonstration and manifestation. I declare it. I commit to it as my practice, as my principles, as my values, as my way of living. For that is how I change my life. That is how I become a beneficial presence in the world, to the world. That is how I demonstrate my awareness of being a spiritually magnificent being, God incarnating itself. And the law says yes. So I leave here going out in service. We leave here going out in service to the world as 21st century New Thought Good Samaritans, doing what is ours to do, speaking it into existence, singing it into existence. And the law says yes, that means it is so. And so it is. Namaste, blessings, much love and appreciation, and I will see you all next week. Much love. Take care.